let's take a moment here and just reflect a little bit on a moment when you were feeling joy, a recent moment when you were feeling joyful, and step into that moment feeling fully alive, absorbing the experience cognitively, emotionally, and somatically through our bodies, sensately. And now letting go of that experience and trying something a little harder. Recalling a recent experience of disappointment, sorrow, frustration. And stepping into that experience being fully alive. With your thoughts and emotions, physical sensations. And letting go of that and bringing your attention back to the group and the conversation. So let's explore some ways that being fully alive can be enough. We hear the word happiness so often, so frequently in our culture. And it's become a rather typical, common experience that we seek in life. And some of the drivers, typical drivers of happiness, tend to be the things we accomplish. If I get that promotion, I'll be really happy. If I can just finish this project here in the house, then I'll feel really happy. If I can get the kids off to college safely, then I'll be so relieved. Or we may be putting happiness in terms of what we acquire. We think to ourselves, oh, this house isn't quite big enough for this family. If we can just get a bigger house, then we'll all be happier. We've got this great vacation coming up. Once we have that experience, I know I'll be happier. The accomplishing is about what mindfulness describes as grasping for identity. I mean, we're all familiar with resumes, curriculum vitae, those lists of accomplishments. They can easily become our sense of identity. Who are you? Oh, I'm a guy who worked in the banking industry for 30 years. Well, what happened to you? Well, I did this and I did that and I got these titles and... Sorry about that. My phone, even though I've got it turned off, everything's connected. Or when we get caught up in the acquiring, that's about grasping for sense pleasure, for things that feel good, perhaps at a sensate level. And one of the great insights that we all have eventually, if not sooner, is we realize that acquiring and accomplishing are never enough. Once we get there, we discover that it wasn't all it was cracked up to be, or it's much more fleeting impermanent than we thought it was. The irony here is that we're trying to get to a place of being happy. You notice nobody ever says doing happy. We talk about being happy. We try to get to a place of being by doing. We do accomplishments. We do acquiring. And there's a fundamental disconnection there. And when we get caught up in grasping for sense pleasure, when we get caught up in grasping for accomplishing, that's when we're taking life, which is hard to begin with, and making it harder. Now, this is not to say that we should never accomplish or acquire. Once again, it's about how we relate to it. And so if we can relate to an accomplishment, to a project, to something we're doing at work, to raising our children, in terms of feeling fully alive while it's happening, as opposed to being fixed on the outcome, then our experience is different. You know, the only outcome that's going to happen for every single one of us is the one that none of us wants to happen. So letting go of outcomes and being present in the moment, being fully alive, is an alternative. And it takes us out of this experience of if this, then that. If I can only accomplish this, then I will be happy. Not only is it never enough, but so often the happiness requires certain external variables, conditions, circumstances to be a particular way. Variables we don't have control over. And so we can do all the things that logically lead to some kind of happiness and not end up there because something else interferes. However, if we focus on being fully alive in each experience, that's within our control. We can control being fully present in each moment. It's not easy. It's something we need to learn to do, and that's what we're all practicing here. But we can get there. And you've all had the experience of using these practices to be more present in the moment, to be less caught up in regrets about the past and what-ifing about the future. And so when we're present, that's one of the ingredients for being fully alive. When we have alignment, we worked with this in some depth on Wednesday, focusing on what's most important to us, on where that resonance arises. When that's the ground from which we're operating, alignment, aspiration, resonance, then that helps us be fully alive in each moment. We know what's meaningful to us, what's important about each experience. And the third ingredient of being fully alive is belonging. Belonging is mostly, in our culture, about piercing the illusion, the veil of separateness. When we get caught up in separateness, that's another way of making life harder. And the alternative is this sense of belonging, this realizing that separateness is merely an illusion, that we're all connected, that we all belong. Let's do a little practice around all of this. Beginning with a couple of deep breaths, letting go of all of this cognitive stuff that I've been flooding you with. You already knew all that anyway, so take a couple of deep breaths and let it go. And allowing yourself to settle in. Softening. Turning to your breathing. Experimenting with feeling fully alive with each breath, each in-breath, each out-breath. What is the experience of feeling fully alive with an in-breath? And as you expand your awareness away from your breath, you might take in or begin noticing the thoughts that are arising or the emotions or any sensations in your body. As each one arises, bring yourself into full presence with it, aligning yourself with whatever's showing up and feeling the aliveness that is there. Even if it's just a glimmer, a glimpse of aliveness, that's enough for a knowing. For learning about it. Allowing it to flow. Being with your own aliveness in each moment. and offering yourself a word or two of kindness as a way of bringing some belonging, some connecting into the experience.